You take one bite of breakfast, and nothing is warm. No toast, no soup, no grilled meat, no steam doing that cozy little good morning civilized human thing. Everything in front of you is raw, tough, chewy, stringy, bloody, sour, bitter, or still wearing a lovely jacket of dirt. And for most of the deep human story, eating was not about flavor first. It was about one thing. Can this keep you alive until tomorrow? So picture yourself before fire became part of everyday life. Not before hunger, not before tools, not before intelligence, before the thing that would eventually turn food into something softer, safer, warmer, and a lot less like a dare. So what did ancient humans actually eat before fire? The simple answer is this: whatever their bodies could survive. But that answer is doing a lot of heavy lifting, because before fire, food was not just food. Food was a workout. Every bite had to be found cracked, scraped, torn apart, chewed, forever swallowed, and then somehow digested without heat doing any of the dirty work. Your teeth were not just teeth. They were kitchen equipment. Your jaw was not just a jaw. It was the blender. And your stomach was basically customer support for a terrible product. Every day came down to one question: can I turn this thing into energy before it turns me into a cautionary tale? Long before grocery stores, kitchens, metal pots, salt, oil ovens, meal prep containers, and that one friend who says air fryers changed his life. Your ancestors lived in landscapes that changed constantly. Seasons changed, weather changed, animals moved, plants disappeared, luck mattered. Some days nature was generous. Some days nature looked at you and said, "Good luck, buddy." A riverbank might offer shellfish frogs, fish trapped in shallow water, birds' eggs, or edible roots hiding in wet soil. A forest might offer fruit nuts, honey insects, larvae leaves, mushrooms, and small animals. A savanna might offer marrow inside bones, scraps left behind by predators' underground tubers, and seeds that took serious patience to gather. But without fire, almost none of it was easy. A raw root might be packed with starch, but that starch was locked inside tough plant cells. A nut might be rich in fat, but only if you could break the shell without also breaking your hand. Raw meat could give protein, but protein alone was not enough. Too much lean meat without enough fat can make the body miserable. And raw leaves might fill your stomach, but filling your stomach is not the same as feeding your brain. That is the first thing modern life makes easy to forget. Ancient hunger was not just about finding calories. It was about getting access to them. Anthropologist Richard Wrangham became famous for arguing that cooking changed the human body because heat makes food easier to chew and digest. His idea is often called the cooking hypothesis. In plain English, it means cooking may have helped humans get more energy from food while spending less effort chewing and digesting it. And that matters because your brain is expensive. Not emotionally expensive, although sure that too, but biologically expensive. Your brain burns a huge amount of energy even when you are doing nothing. Even when you are lying there making one bad decision after another and calling it rest. But before regular fire, your ancestors still needed that energy. So they used another technology, not flames, hands. They pounded, they sliced, they crushed, they scraped, they dried food in the sun, they smashed bones open with stones, they tore meat into smaller pieces, they chewed for a very long time. Basically, before cooking existed, dinner came with a free jaw workout. If cooking is chemical help, tools are mechanical help. A sharp stone flake could cut meat into strips that teeth could actually handle. A hammerstone could crack open a bone and expose marrow, the fatty tissue inside. A digging stick could pull up underground storage organs like roots bulbs and tubers where plants stored energy. A flat stone could crush seeds or nuts enough to make them easier to swallow. Before food was cooked, it was processed by hand. That is why the oldest stone tools matter so much. At Lumakwi in Kenya, archaeologists have found extremely ancient stone tools dated to about 3.3 million years ago, long before modern humans existed. At Gona in Ethiopia, Oldowan tools appear around 2.6 million years ago. Oldowan is the name for a simple stone tool traditioner, mostly flakes and choppers. In normal person language, it means early humans and their relatives were already using broken stone edges to solve food problems. A stone flake is not a kitchen, but it is the very first version of let me make this edible. So what would you eat before fire? Probably a mix of plants, animal foods, insects, leftovers, and whatever did not immediately scream. This will ruin your week. Start with plants. Fruit was the easy win when it was available. Ripe fruit is nature doing some of the processing for you. It gets softer. It gets sweeter. It advertises itself with color and smell. For a hungry primate, body fruit is basically the closest thing to fast food, except it is seasonal. It comes and goes, and there is no ancient human DoorDash. So your ancestors also relied on tougher plant foods. Tubers, bulbs, roots, seeds, nuts, young leaves, and in some environments, wild grains. Amanda Henry and her colleagues studied microscopic plant remains trapped in ancient dental calculus. Dental calculus is hardened plaque on teeth. Yes, prehistoric tooth gunk. Gross absolutely. Useful very. It works like a tiny time capsule. In Neanderthal teeth from places like Shanidar Cave in Iraq and Spy Cave in Belgium, researchers found starch grains and plant microfossils. That means ancient humans and their close relatives were eating a variety of plant foods, not just meat. Some of that later evidence includes cooked food. But the larger point still matters. Human diets were flexible. They changed by place. They changed by season. They changed by what could be chewed, cracked, soaked, sliced, crushed, or swallowed without turning lunch into a medical emergency. Before fire, a raw tuber was not the soft potato you know today. It might be bitter. It might be fibrous. It might need peeling, pounding, washing, or choosing at exactly the right time of year. Ancient people were not just wandering around biting random plants like a toddler at a backyard barbecue. That is how you get poisoned. They had knowledge. Which roots were safe? Which fruits were ripe? Which seeds needed cracking? Which leaves upset your stomach? Which mushrooms were a hard no? Which honey was worth getting stung for? Which season changed everything? That knowledge was not written in books. It lived in memory. It lived in attention. It lived in watching elder siblings and other group members make hundreds of tiny food decisions every day. Now look at animal foods. Before fire meat was possible. But it was not a steak. Nobody was saying medium rare, please. It was just rare. Extremely rare. As in still raw and probably making eye contact with your immune system. It could be raw muscle from a fresh kill. It could be scavenged meat from an animal already killed by lions, hyenas, saber-toothed cats, or other predators. It could be marrow from cracked bones. It could be brain tissue inside skulls. It could be insects, grubs, termites, eggs, lizards, shellfish, or small mammals. Marrow was especially valuable because it was fatty. Fat matters a lot. A human body cannot do well forever on lean protein alone. You need dense energy, and fat gives a lot of energy in a small amount. That is one reason broken animal bones are so important in archaeology. A cracked bone can mean someone wanted what was inside.